Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of F1 24 Career Mode here on the channel. We have round 2 of season 2 coming your way today. Our second race with the second American team on the grid. Our new team, of course, Trackhouse Racing, which got off to a bit of a rocky start in Bahrain, where we had a pretty rough night overall. We got strategy wrong, and our teammate of Carlos Sainz was able to put up the first point already for Trackhouse Racing, so that was a big moment after our 17th place effort. We're coming into this weekend with some upgrades though, so one of the good things is Trackhouse has started with quite a bit of funding, so we're able to come in with a good bit of upgrades into this weekend and beyond, but I think we're going to see a bit of a stale bit, probably following the Australian Grand Prix, because we won't have, well, the same amount of resource points that we did at the start of the season. We had a really large amount of resource points to kick off season number 2 as we come through into this weekend, ready to get this Trackhouse machine on the racetrack, powered of course by Cadillac here now as we head down towards turn 1 in Jeddah, the streets of Jeddah that is now, for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix weekend. Still 24 races this season, just like season number 1. A lot of time for things to change throughout the season, but in round 1 in Bahrain we saw pure dominance by McLaren. Oscar Piastri, an absolute masterclass of defense, but it wasn't quite enough for his teammate of Lando Norris, who would end up getting past him late in the Grand Prix, and he would drive off into victory, picking up his first win of his Formula 1 career. What can now Oscar Piastri do? Can he respond to that this weekend here in Jeddah? As you see me making some mistakes in free practice 1 there, terrible end to sector number 1, but overall the car felt okay, and I wanted to make a bit of a statement this weekend, and specifically starting that with qualifying. I wanted to make sure I out-qualified my teammate of Carlos Sainz. I think even though I'm in my second season, Sainz might have a lot more experience than me. I think I'm the best driver on this team, and the best driver really on the grid, so we want to prove that this weekend by out-qualifying Carlos at least. So we're going to roll through into qualifying, of course, what would be Friday night under the lights here for this second round of the season, and just looking for a bit of that just comfort. You know, Bahrain, I felt like I struggled for a bit of comfort at times, and I think it showed, and overall we know the 2-stop strategy didn't benefit us any there, so we know what we need to do this weekend though here in Saudi Arabia as we roll up to our race engineer there and get ready to roll in qualifying. Now, the goal for me is to get to Q2. If we can do that, I will consider it a success. I don't care really where we end up in Q2, just make it to Q2. Our first lap in Q1, however, well, through turns 1 and 2, no big deal. Got the car hooked up, got it gripped up, it was no issue. However, right here, you're going to notice a bit of a mistake, a slip up over the curbing. I invalidate my lap time, it was over just like that. So, lap 2 now, I would just kind of cool everything down, get back going a few minutes later. 12 and a half minutes still in the session, just over, and through the same section, we get through there so much better. And now that's going to be now a situation where, okay, let's just put the rest of the lap together, and we should be in pretty good shape. At least I felt like. We round the final hairpin, actually clipping the wall on the outside there. That's no big deal. We come to the line, get that rear wing open with the DRS, down this front straightaway to the line, and we go P9. But we would drop outside of the top 16. 17th and lower get eliminated with 22 cars on the grid. Sainz is currently in 16th with us in P18. So looking for a bit more time, of course, to try and advance into Q2. And as we rounded this final turn, overall, we only find about 2.5, just a little over 2.5 tenths of a gain. Is it going to be enough as we're down to P20? To the line, and we make it through just barely in P16, but Carlos Sainz does not. Sainz down in 19th, a rough effort following the highs of Bahrain, as Albon Bottas, Sargent Hulkenberg, and Haas rookie Frederick Vesti will join Sainz out in Q1. Rolling into Q2 now, looking for just a little bit more pace. Now, of course, I said anything in Q2 I'd be happy with, but I do want a little bit more. I don't want to be P16 as I actually nearly clipped the wall on the right side there, but pushing hard on this only fresh set of soft tires that I had in Q2, so it's basically a one and done. So whatever happens, happens on this lap, and overall I was quite happy with how this lap was going in about the first half. It was about putting that last half together through the final chicane and really getting this Cadillac powered Trackhouse car to hook up through there as well. And as we head down into this final hairpin, overall felt pretty good. So as we head down this front straightaway again, of course, the DRS rear wing open, I feel like this is a pretty good lap as we cross the stripe, and it's only P15, okay? I tried to attempt a second lap here just to see if we could find a little bit more pace, because I was a bit surprised by what we did, and we would actually start to find a bit more pace here towards the end of Sector 1, just over a tenth of a second gain, and as we continue on with the lap, finding 2.5 tenths now, 3 tenths of a second, 4 tenths, getting through that first chicane really well. And now as we head down into the final hairpin, we keep that same gap basically the whole lap, rounding the final turn right about 4 tenths of a second gain down the front stretch again. What is it going to be? Is it enough for anything better? It's only P14. Okay, it is what it is, and that we will start the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix from 14th place, which is still a step up from last weekend. Dennis Hauger out for Ferrari in his second start with the, of course, elite team here now, as we will get ready to go racing. Alonso out in Q2 as well. Let's go racing Saturday night.
Good morning, good afternoon, or for us, good evening, as we're under the night lights of Jeddah. The floodlights are on, and so is the pressure here at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. So let's take a look at the topographical map of the Jeddah street circuit. As you can see, a number of challenging corners for the drivers to master here. We'll see just how much the teams have benefited from their time spent in practice this weekend. And like many street circuits, this track has the potential to punish drivers that get it wrong. Let's hope we avoid any safety cars today. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Oscar Piastri completes the front row. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Russell, Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Hamilton, Gasly, Stroll, Ocon, Fernando Alonso, Joe, Hauger, Golden Boy, Tsunoda, Ricciardo, Albon, Bottas, Sainz, Sargent, Hulkenberg, and Frederick Vesti. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
So then, we will be starting on the soft compound tire, going on to the medium. It looks like the mediums to hards as well as a very similar pace strategy, so I expect to see other drivers trying some different strategies here as we get ready to roll.
Here we go then, the formation lap is underway and the track temperature looks warm. That may or may not play into some of the team's hands in today's race.
Lando Norris, the only driver in the top 10 starting on the soft, with Hauger and myself being the next two. Down in 13th and 14th, a few other drivers, including my teammate of Carlos Sainz, join us on the softs.
As the cars come back towards the grid to line up for the start of the race, each driver will be wanting to get the best start they possibly can, and they'll be hoping to finish today's race on the podium, failing that, within the points.
Right, team. Rough weekend there in Bahrain, but I think we've got ourselves set up pretty well to turn it around tonight.
Absolutely we do, mate. Make it happen out there.
So then, rolling up to the grid behind one of the Audi-powered cars, of course the second new team on the grid this season, Zhou Guanyu behind the wheel of that one. In front of us, Bottas, the other driver, of course Sebastian Vettel, team principal for that team. You're actually going to hear him and through the grid a little bit later on as we get ready to roll. 5 red lights, a very quick hold. We're already racing here now as we head down towards turn 1. Up front is the McLaren 1-2, but it's Lando Norris who leads into turn 1 over Piastri 3 wide. You got the two Red Bulls there. Perez, Verstappen, a bit of contact right there. I believe that was Lewis Hamilton. No, that was George Russell with a bit of contact with one of the Red Bulls. There's Charles Leclerc up the inside of Hamilton. 3 wide in front of us. That's right on my nose. That was Lance Stroll getting after it with Zhou Guanyu. And everybody gets to settled out somehow. No damage. And we're all going on. And Hamilton scrapping it out with Leclerc, who's going to be out on top. Now Hamilton just in front of the pair of Alpines. How about Ocon and Gasly up here in the mix? What a turnaround for this team over the last season. Now they have started this season, no points in Bahrain, but are looking strong this weekend and in the R&D table here. Now, as you see some battling in the back there, the couple of Williams, Albon, and Sargent there in the mix now, but it's Lando Norris at 1 episode after getting his first win in his Formula 1 career. Here he is now trying to back that up with a second. We got through into P12, a great start for myself from 14th on the grid, and it's crucial to be within the DRS at the end of this first lap, because if it can just be in that DRS, I feel like we've set ourselves up really well for the rest of the Grand Prix, to be honest now, and we would be in DRS at the end of lap 1, starting the second of 25 laps. But a smoke there to the back of the Aston Martin there, looking like Stroll had a bit of a minor lockup, but didn't take him offline or anything, so he was in good shape there for the rest of that corner. But at the end of this lap, it wasn't long until we start to see the fights happen. Stroll around the outside of Zhou Guanyu in the Audi. I'm showing my nose now. Both these guys in front of us on mediums, and behind us Alonso on mediums as well, but they would continue side by side on the run all the way into turn 1. It looking like immediately that Audi's got some good power, so you were able to see Zhou really hang on, and he hangs on. He's still ahead. He clears Stroll, who drops back down into P11. We're settling into the 12th position, a really good spot to be in considering where we were in Bahrain, as the battle for the lead is already heating up now. Piastri on the mediums compared to Norris on the softs. It's going to be now Piastri, the Australian, through into the lead of the Jeddah Saudi Arabian Grand Prix now, as the battles are heating up here for the last spot in the top 10. Stroll, Zhou, myself, and Alonso as well, wheel to wheel as we exit the final turn, and we would get a run down the front straightaway, showing the nose, trying to force it 3 wide up the inside. Here we go. Who's going to lift? No one's going to lift. We are all coming together. A bit of contact actually with the Audi, and now we go a little bit wide, and Zhou stays ahead of all of us. Now, what a drive from the Chinese driver so far. He is fighting like an absolute lion out here in the streets of Jeddah now, as we continue on in this 12th position. Yuki Tsunoda 1.4 seconds behind now, just behind Alonso, as we continue on just doing our thing, letting things play out and looking for opportunities. But Stroll was the one creating the opportunities now up the inside. But here comes now Alonso. Yellow flags actually as we head down into this final hairpin, and it looks like it's a Mercedes that's slow. Not sure who it is, but we stay ahead of Alonso. But Stroll into the top 10. It's Russell, George Russell, with a mechanical failure early on in the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
I'm out, guys.
You hear the radio from Russell. We're up the inside now of Zhou through turn 2, and now this is a fight, of course, for P10 due to Russell's DNF is a bit of a slip out of the rear end. We have to save it and correct it, and that allowed Zhou to go through and retake that 10th position. But this battle is far from over, and not only myself and Zhou, but Fernando Alonso as well. He is fast in that Aston Martin. He goes back past us there into P11. Aston Martin ended last season so strong, of course, not where they want to be to start season number 2 right now, running 9th with Lance Stroll and 11th with Fernando Alonso. As the 2 McLarens, you look at the track map, those McLarens have just fired out of the gate so strong this season as they both run away. But Piastri is putting a gap on Norris on those medium compound tires, so Piastri just taking early control of this race, as I had actually lost some ground to the cars in front. Alonso and Zhou battling side by side though was exactly what I needed to get back within the 1 second threshold to be inside some DRS. So we were back in the DRS here to start lap number 8 as they continue wheel to wheel. Zhou's fighting very, very hard here now as we come through towards the end of lap 8. And how about this? Battles between Perez and Verstappen. Verstappen looking to the right side of Perez into this final hairpin. Now Charles Leclerc ready to pounce if there's an opportunity now as they exit this final turn. Down the front straightaway, you see the Mercedes and the Alpines in the background. Hamilton, Gasly, Ocon, but here comes Charles Leclerc, follows Verstappen, breezes past Perez, gets alongside the Dutchman in the process into turn number 1. Who's going to come out on top of this one? I think it's going to be Verstappen. Yes, it will. Verstappen with the power down. He remains ahead now as I have a bit of a slip and slide there. Alonso had finally completed the pass down this front straightaway on Zhou Guanyu. So into P10 he goes. 11th for Zhou, 12th continuously for myself. Now behind us it's Yuki Tsunoda, but he's 3.2 seconds behind. Our teammate of Carlos Sainz hasn't really gone far so far. He is trying to get his way forward, but so far we are looking in pretty good shape here now, and we're about to come in to make our pit stops here within the next couple laps. As you see, Piastri out in front by 2.4 seconds now over Lando Norris. As you see, Verstappen, Leclerc, and Perez as well, all running together. And Leclerc just tucks in behind Verstappen on that run now as we come towards the beginning part here of lap 10, and once again kind of right up tucked behind Zhou Guanyu, just kind of letting things play out. Things are going to work out in our favor. I'm confident of that, as now here comes Lando Norris. He's on that soft compound tire. He's pitting early, so this is going to be the opportunity. He's going to have a chance to be on a medium compound tire, take the lead of the Grand Prix maybe, and then try to defend like Piastri did in Bahrain. So Piastri is going to, of course, be going on to the hard compound tire, and later then Norris is pitting, so that's a good opportunity for him. So at the end of lap 10 for myself as well, we would follow Lando Norris into the pits, and we will get our set of softs off. And I was really happy with the pace. I mean, we were able to hang on with those guys in front of us all of that run. So looks like as well, I believe that's the Audi of Bottas that's going to be pitting, but we'll get the softs off, a brand new set of mediums onto this Cadillac powered Trackhouse racing machine. We'll get back going, and Dennis Hauger as well into the pits for Ferrari. It's not been a pretty Grand Prix for him so far. He worked out a pretty decent finish in Bahrain, only finished one spot worse than his teammate of Charles Leclerc, but he has not been on it this weekend at all. In qualifying, he was nowhere near where he needed to be, and he's not been anywhere where he's needed to be tonight under the lights in the streets of Jeddah either now. But pit stops about to kick off for a lot of drivers here now as we come through towards the end of lap 11, starting lap 12. Here comes Oscar Piastri, so he pits only one lap later than Lando Norris. He gets those mediums off, the hards go on. The big question is going to be, where is Lando Norris going to cycle through in this little battle right now? As you can see, everybody heading into the pit lane, but here comes Norris on the run towards turn number 1. Piastri should be heading into turn 1 right now. He just exited. He can get up the speed. It's going to be a drag race out of turn number 1 and turn 2. Piastri's ahead, but Norris is on that medium compound tire, so he's going to have a handful of laps where he's just going to be downright quicker as we approach the halfway point of this Grand Prix. For myself, pitting a lap earlier, let's see where it cycles us through now as we overshoot turn 1, but we're still behind Alonso just barely by a few car lengths, but he gets ahead, but we're in front of Zhou Guanyu, who's now 7/10 of a second behind us, so we've leapfrogged a little bit there in front of the Audi, but still behind the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso. One lap later, everybody else completing their pit stops. Lance Stroll is going to be coming out right there in front of us, and it's going to be wheel-to-wheel contact there between the two Astons. Stroll remains ahead in the 9th position. Lance Stroll has been a bit of a different animal in recent rounds of this career mode, spanning back to the end of last season. He has not been afraid to get the elbows out on Fernando Alonso, and has suddenly just kind of found a pace that he is comfortable and confident with here now, as the battle for the lead is heating up. Perez is actually out in front. He still has to pitch. He's really stretching out those medium compound tires, but Lando Norris takes the lead on the mediums, but I'm just wondering how long are those mediums going to last for him until those hards from Piastri start to pick up now. As you can see, Alonso putting the fight back to Lance Stroll. We're right here in the mix as well. Could we maybe pass one of them or both of them on the run towards turn 1? Alonso pulls back out to the right side. We're going to tuck in behind the Canadian now, pull out to the left, look for a move up the inside into turn number 1. Show the nose on Alonso, nearly contact right there with the two-time world champion, but we continue on, and now as we exit turn 2, we're side by side with Stroll on the run towards the left-hander. He backs out of it. We maintain P10 into the points. Can we replicate what Carlos Sainz did for the first race with Trackhouse Racing last episode in Bahrain? A single point on the board, better than nothing considering where our car is to start the season in the R&D. We would be quite ecstatic with a point on the board for ourselves, and I think it would be a good kind of back at you Carlos after he was able to, of course, beat us in dominant fashion in Bahrain under the lights, of course, on that Saturday night, as we're all over the back of Fernando Alonso. What would be better than 1 point? Well, of course, 2 points. Let's go for it. To the back of the Spaniard. We'll pull to the right side. We're going to breeze past him on the run towards his final turn, but now he's going to have DRS down this front straightaway, so he's going to have a very realistic opportunity to do exactly this. A lunge one back up my inside. I don't make it too hard on him. I let him back through. We drop back down into P10. There's a lot of straight line speed tonight in that Aston Martin here. They've been very, very strong as we come through to 10 laps to go. We'll go through the grid.
How about round 2 of a McLaren battle? Norris out in front this time with Piastri chasing. are we witnessing what could become a McLaren title battle later in the year?
If they keep on this form all season long, they certainly could be fighting for a title at the end of this year.
Joining us in the pit lane is the new Audi team principal, Sebastian Vettel. You got us, Seb?
Yep, loud and clear, I got you.
Seb, your driver's running 12th and 13th currently. How do you make of your team's performance tonight?
So far, so good. Right where we expected to be. This year is all about building for next year, so our goal is runs like this one.
Seb, how's the experience been as a team principal so far in just 2 weeks?
Stressful, way more than driving, or maybe I'm just starting to forget the driving part. But no, it's been good fun so far. The team has been very supportive of one another, and that's our main goal here.
Right, thanks Seb for joining us, and good luck with the rest of the race. That was 4-time world champion Sebastian Vettel you were hearing from there. As you see the final few drivers on the grid of Hulkenberg, Albon and Vesti.
Through the grid process, we were able to get back out in front of Fernando Alonso. However, you can see what would happen next. Alonso and Stroll, both at the end of lap 16, are able to pass me on the run towards this final turn, nearly into the back of the fellow Canadian there, but Alonso 9th, Stroll in P10, but now Stroll's got the DRS, Alonso doesn't. Who's going to come out on top of this battle? I think it's going to be Stroll easily clearing Alonso. Yes, he will, into turn number 1. Alonso locks up, goes straight on the apex, stays in front of Zhou, at least maintains P11, but putting us back into P10, as this has been a heck of a back and forth battle we've been seeing between not only us, but Alonso, Stroll, Zhou as well. It's been a group of us 4 drivers just kind of together all race long, and it's been making for a heck of a battle here now as we continue on. In these closing moments of this Grand Prix, we've spun round, we've corrected off the curb, and we've put the car head on into the wall and torn the front wing off.
Are you okay, mate? What happened there?
I hit the curb and lost it. I'm so sorry, guys. That was all me. That was all me, and now we gotta wait for traffic to go through. This should be the last group and we can get it back going, but yeah, I mean, such a good race going that I just threw away, and we're going to have to pit at the end of this lap, replace the front wing. I mean, so disappointing, and even more disappointing when it's your own mistake there. There's no excuse. I clipped the curb, got a little bit too aggressive, and tried to correct it, and overcorrected it and spun round. So Well, Box on lap 18 will come in, get the new front wing on the car. The two McLarens are continuing to battle it out for the lead. Piastri looking pretty good in these closing laps, but definitely a frustrating ordeal all around. We're going to need a safety car or a red flag or something to give us any opportunity to do something, of course, now as we're on the same straightaway as the two leaders, not where we want to be. And now Carlos Sainz has put himself in a position to go 2-0 on us to start the season, which is quite frustrating as well, after we were looking so strong all Grand Prix long, looking like we might be able to match the 1 point he put up in Bahrain, but obviously now it's over. So we just need to hope for a red flag, safety car, some kind of incident. We've never seen a red flag actually in this career mode so far, but you never know as we come through into these closing laps. And yeah, we're 34 seconds behind Nico Hulkenberg, who's being beat by his rookie teammate. He's actually right in a close battle with him, Frederick Vesti, that is, now as we come through to lap 20 of 25 at this point now, just nursing this car around. The pace is fine, and we're not making any mistakes now. Yeah, just frustrating, as I actually do have a bit of a moment there on the curbing, but we continue on without any issue. Lance Stroll's around in the final hairpin, and there's as well Bottas getting stuck. Our teammate of Sainz is going to breeze through Hauger as well, and he's blocking the track. Stroll, as other cars are coming, they're going to have to stop here. Stroll's in the middle of the circuit. Red flag. Red flag is deployed for the first time in our career as a Formula 1 driver, and this is the opportunity that we needed, and now an opportunity to just reset, get ready to go back racing, of course. Everybody's going to be going on to a fresh set of soft compound tires, but an opportunity that we can really utilize here to get ourselves going back forward here now. And obviously it's going to be only, I think, 3 laps of racing, so we're going to send it. It's full send. I mean, that's our only option here, and we'll see what happens. The replay of Lance Stroll on board just loops it, doesn't even go for a full spin, but such an awkward spot there, and he ends up blocking the track. So a really unfortunate situation there for him as we get ready to go back racing. So on the soft compound tire, let's see what we can do as we are ready to go once again. I hate this game. You might be wondering what in the world just happened. So there's a bug in the game, and you're seeing me on the wheel. I'm turning the wheel 90 degrees left and right, and the wheel is barely inputting, so I realize the issue. It is a current bug, so I paused the game, which fixes it, as you can see, but it disengaged my clutch. So thank you, EA, thank you, Codemasters. That just ruined our race because we get a time penalty out of it. But we're back racing. Let's focus in on it. Piastri with a great start. Norris goes nowhere. Back to fourth. The two Red Bulls leapfrog him into second and third. And it's now a perfect case scenario for Oscar Piastri, who's going to look to run away. Our race just got ruined by this bug. And there's nothing I can do about it. We just got like a 20-second time penalty. So it's just bring it home at this point. We got the opportunity. We needed to get back into the race, and then a bug comes in. I should have waited until we went back racing to pause the game and unpause it, but I just didn't realize that it was, or didn't think about the fact that going into the pause menu and coming out of the pause menu was going to disengage the clutch that I was currently engaging on. So that's just unfortunate. I mean, what can you even do at that point there? I should have just waited until we went back racing. So quite frustrating, but that ruins our race. So we can only ride around for these last couple of laps and try to not interfere too much. But at the same time, I'm thinking about trying to help my teammate of Carlos Sainz as we approach 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix. It's Oscar Piastri setting the fastest lap of anybody and running away. Lando Norris has to be, I mean, absolutely frustrated after, of course, looking to be in position there to potentially go for the win. And now he's down to 4th place with Verstappen, Perez both being in front of him with 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Sainz as well has made some good ground up. He's up towards the top 10, not quite in the top 10. A bit of a moment over the curbs and actually getting a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. I never remembered actually getting a track warning more than twice. I only remembered one time getting one earlier in the Grand Prix, but now you can see closing up on the back of Daniel Ricciardo here as we'll head down into this final hairpin. 1 lap to go. Piastri is looking at career win number 1 now as Carlos Sainz is up on the back of the Audis now. Zhou and Bottas now. Sainz on the inside. He's going for P11 into turn number 1. Contact there, maybe, yes, contact between him and the Audi, and there goes Zhou through again. He's been driving so hard all race long, but hold on, he's out of battery it looks like. Sainz back up the inside, nearly contact with the barrier. Bottas is able to get away. Sainz doesn't lift. What a move there from the Spaniard. He scrapes the barrier. They continue wheel to wheel. Absolute balls to the wall type strategy here now as Sainz doesn't lift, but neither does Zhou. What a drive there from the Chinese driver. As for myself, we were just settling in, sailing it off actually into the long sweeping left-hander here, just trying to find something out of it now, and just, you know, I was quite salty at this point, so I was just putting some pressure on Albon, but I did back out of it right here. And just kind of said, okay, let's see what you can do with Hülkenberg before this Grand Prix comes to an end here now with just a few corners to go at this point. And Carlos Sainz is going to breeze past Zhou, who's got no battery on that final straightaway, but out of the final turn, it's Oscar Piastri. What a story. His first win in Formula 1.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. Thanks for the coordination.
He was nearly fired. I was offered his position at McLaren, and I'm sure Zach Brown is quite happy to keep Piastri on now with the start to this season. An embarrassment for us on the other side of things. Now it wasn't meant to be, and just, now we're down 2-0 to Carlos Sainz, who was able to, of course, beat us after the mistake we made on the track at the end of Sector 1, quite simply crashing myself. Piastri's going to get to celebrate, and, I mean, how about Lando Norris? I mean, you know, such a terrible restart, and that took him from second, maybe going for the win, to down to 4th off of the podium, while the 2 Red Bull drivers, Verstappen and Perez, will join Piastri up there, and as well, allowing themselves to at least keep the championship battle interesting going forward. But Perez with a solid start to the season as well, as we hear Oscar Piastri on the podium.
This is great, really. I've worked so hard in the off-season to better my form, and I think it's paying off so far.
What a drive. And, you know, we look at his defensive masterclass in Jeddah as well. I mean, he was on it there. Sorry, in Bahrain. He was absolutely on it there. He was on it again this weekend as well. But that wraps it up for the first 2 rounds of the season. Hamilton in P5, Leclerc P6. How about Gasly and Ocon, the 2 Alpines? Just a great drive for them. And Dennis Hauger rebounds to P9, so he's done a good job rebounding in both Grand Prix so far. Stroll gets a 10-second penalty. That was actually for when he crashed. He, of course, was blocking the field, so it was illegal blocking, but then he did not serve the penalty, so that's what he was given, the 10 seconds there at the end. He could have come into the pits and served it, but Piastri at the top, 5 points ahead of Norris, 9 points ahead of Verstappen, 18 points on Perez, and just a full race on Hamilton. McLaren with a 22-point advantage in the constructors, while we find ourselves down in P20. A disappointing night in what could have been points. Let's focus in on Australia and start turning things around immediately. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.